Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're zooming in on a really vital operational role, the assembly coordinator. Now, since you're here, I'm going to assume you already have a handle on foundational concepts like state nationals, state citizens, the general and jural assemblies, the assembly militia, and the international business assembly. So we're going to skip past the basics. Instead, we'll sketch the big picture and put a magnifying glass right onto the functional role that brings all these pillars together. So here's our roadmap for today. We'll define what a coordinator is, how they guide new members, and cover their communication duties. Then we'll look at how they manage meetings, clarify the difference between a coordinator and an elected officer, and wrap up with the core values of the role. Let's dive right in. Section 1. What exactly is a coordinator? To really get this role, it helps to look back at history. Back in the day, we had these folks called circuit riders, and they would literally ride on horseback across the county just to organize a time and place for the state assembly to meet. Today's coordinators, they are on the exact same mission, just, swap the saddle for a smartphone and video calls, right? They're our modern-day liaisons. So what are they, technically? A coordinator is an unpaid volunteer. They act as an expediter and a liaison who's been trained and vetted by the Federation. Because remember, we are coming out of a decades-long period of dormancy. So the Federation of States acts as the summoning authority to bring these assemblies into sessions safely and in an orderly way. The coordinator is basically that rallying point right there on the ground, making sure the local assembly forms up correctly and, most importantly, avoids chaos. Moving on to Section 2, Guiding New Assembly Members. When you map out the day-to-day reality, a massive part of this job is building a super smooth onboarding pipeline. When someone new raises their hand, the coordinator springs into action. They're responding to inquiries, pointing folks to the right educational materials, and helping them wade through the paperwork to declare their birthright political status. They also help vet and sort people's skills and ultimately guide the group to form the 4 pillars of their state assembly. Let me tell you, it takes a lot of patience and just a genuine love for people to pull this off. You can really think of this vetting and sorting process like being a master puzzle solver. A coordinator looks at a newly landed man or woman and helps figure out exactly where their unique skills best fit into the assembly structure. Usually, they'll partner up closely with recording secretaries to make sure everyone finds their perfect place to serve the community. It's all about connecting the dots. Section 3. Communication and organization duties. Now, the communication and organizational heavy lifting here is pretty extensive. Coordinators have to maintain a rock-solid database of all nationals and new inquiries. They're the ones distributing crucial information across the entire state or county. Plus, they keep records of meeting agendas, minutes, and recordings, at least until a dedicated record keeper is seated. Basically, they oversee the entire formation process. They are the absolute informational hub for the local community. And to get all of that done, flexibility is absolutely key. As the source material points out, while you might not be able to serve in a specific office, you are able to wear many different hats in the interim. Since coordinators function as state nationals, they actually can't hold other elected offices in the assembly, with the exception of recording secretary. But in those early days, they might wear several hats temporarily just to keep the lights on and provide basic functionality. And the best part? As more capable men and women come on board, the coordinator gets to take those hats off and pass them around. Honestly, it's a genuinely rewarding feeling for a coordinator to successfully give a hat away to a newly onboarded member. All right, Section 4, Managing Assembly Meetings. Whether you're gathering online via video conference or you're all meeting in person for a local potluck, a well-run meeting has a few specific must-haves. Coordinators ensure everything is scheduled and posted well in advance, and that a clear agenda goes out before anyone even shows up. They encourage the group to adopt general rules of order, and they make sure an appointed moderator and a marshal at arms are there to keep the peace. Oh, and they guarantee minutes or recordings are taken. Now, if an assembly doesn't have a suitable moderator just yet, no problem. The coordinator can step in and serve that neutral role temporarily. But here is a massive foundational concept you absolutely have to remember. The General Assembly is the driver. Even though the coordinator is the one setting up the hall, handing out the agenda, and maybe even moderating the discussion, they are strictly a facilitator. The General Assembly, the people, are the ones actually in charge. The coordinator is just there to ensure that people are organized enough to get their work done. Which brings us to Section 5, Coordinator versus Elected Officer. It's absolutely vital to clear up any misconceptions here by looking at what a coordinator is versus what they are definitively not. A coordinator is organized, patient, fair, unbiased, dependable, honest, a teacher, and a true leader. But they are not. They are not a chairman, they aren't a CEO, a dictator, a control freak, or political in any way, shape, or form. They are administrative expediters, not rulers. Frankly, if someone is looking for a position of power, being a coordinator is completely the wrong choice. The source text puts this perfectly. It says, in our government, there is no positional authority, only functional authority. That's a huge distinction. Offices are simply functions, and the people holding them are functionaries. Yes, they have the right and the responsibility to do the job they volunteered or elected to do, but that absolutely doesn't make them more equal than anyone else. Coordinators cannot secure any special authority over the individual rights of the members. They are strictly there to serve.
And finally, Section 6, Summary and Core Values.
The core values of this role demand that a coordinator must be honest, inclusive, and stand entirely above politics and paranoia. They have to be devoted to keeping the peace and acting as a worthy leader who prioritizes the community's trust above all else. But you know what the most fascinating part of this whole thing is? It's a temporary, volunteer position. It's designed to sunset once the assembly is fully seated. For a coordinator, their greatest possible success is actually making their own startup role completely obsolete. That's right, the job is literally meant to vanish once the assembly is organized. Now sure, if a fully seated assembly decides, hey, we want to keep this position around for day-to-day maintenance, they can absolutely do that. But at that point, it becomes entirely up to the assembly to decide the title and whether it's an elected or appointed role. The Federation's startup role, that ends. So, if a coordinator's ultimate success means making themselves obsolete by establishing a fully functioning assembly, the big question I want to leave you with today is this: who in your community is ready to step up and take a hat? Coordinators help organize the assembly, connect people with resources, and keep the work moving forward.